Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my maybe 5 minutes exposition of how I've changed my thinking about Agile in the last 10 years. As you know, or may know, I'm one of the guys that started this conference, and my motivation for beginning this conference was about bringing people together to help learn and improve collaboratively in a community, connecting to each other. And we've got a vibe in this conference of like, we bring experts from time to time, but a lot of what is going on at this conference is peers learning from peers, right? And looking at how we're evolving and improving locally, not following some best practice that's been established or captured in a book in another country. We have built a long-standing community of people that are curious and interested in helping each other and connecting with each other. When we first started last conference, I was interested in bringing in the techniques and methods of Agile that at that time were great opportunities to displace mediocre practices or less good practices. For instance, the notion of bringing in story maps to improve the holistic view of what's going to go on in a project, right? The notion of what a good retrospective looked like, or how to run a sprint planning session. Those things were cool and innovative and made a big difference way back in 2012 or 13 or whenever it was we started. Today, I think we expect a lot of people to know that stuff, and I think it's still valuable and useful to go back and revisit those things, because execution in techniques is really, really important. Just because you know what the textbook says doesn't mean you're executing it well. So looking through the practice to the principles and the purpose of the practices is really important. What that led me to over the last few years is thinking about what I call micro techniques. It's the small parts of execution that change working on a tool or method or whatever, from mediocre to great. An example is meetings, right? Like we can schedule a meeting with a bunch of people and bring them together to talk about a problem and come to a couple of decisions and move on to the next meeting or the next act we have to do. If you want to run a great meeting, what you do is you tell people in advance what the meeting's about, what the objectives of the meeting are about, what good looks like, what failure looks like, what everyone's role in the meeting is, what the expectations of them in terms of preparation and turning up. Techniques inside the meeting, like giving people time to spend time and laugh and enjoy each other's company, spending time to get the context, to understand the background of what we need to understand to achieve the outcome, revisiting the goals, right? Talking about how we might get there, setting out the agenda, right? Reflecting back at the end of the meeting to give voice to anyone that didn't have an opportunity to talk. All sorts of things can be bundled into how we run meetings to make them so much better. Micro techniques. They build on each other, just like frameworks and other tools do. But I believe micro techniques are where the real impact is. Now that was what I was thinking was probably one of the most powerful and useful things that we could be doing with this conference around about 2015-16. Since then, I've evolved my thinking further. Today, I think it's really, really important to pay attention to culture, right? And obviously it is. Everyone says that, and for years people have been banging on about it. And we brought in great people like Sengi and Norm and Bodek and others into the conference at various times, and they always gravitate to culture as the thing that is the differentiator between poor, mediocre, and truly great. One of the things I love about this conference is there's a community spirit and a spirit de corps about like collaboration, learning from each other, supporting each other, right? People come along and they're fans of each other. Like there's this great peer respect and enthusiasm that happens out in the crowd at last conference, and I love it. That's my favorite part of this conference. And more recently, having worked at Everest and created this company, right, one of the strongest values that we've got in the company is look after the people around you. And it's care for people, respect people and support you. And I think about when we're working, right, it's inevitable we're going to fail and make mistakes, right? And when we're at work and we trip over and we make a mistake, what kind of experience do we want to have? Do we want to have the environment where the people around us go, hey, Craig, don't worry about it. Get up. Let's keep going. Let's work on this. We can do this. We got this, right? Or do you want to work in an environment where people hold you to account for every mistake you make, pull you up on it and try to force it into you as a learning experience or whatever they do? Make you the center of the blame conversation or whatever it needs to be. No, you don't want that. What you want is a culture of support and love and kindness and enthusiasm for the future. This community of people is definitely in that territory. What we also need to do is take that enthusiasm for good culture back to the workplace so that our workplaces can be great too.